Hey folks, today I'm going to talk about skills development for those wanting to join Special Forces. If you take away anything from this, it is that the first one I'm going to talk about, which is orienteering, is the biggest bang for your buck as far as giving you a solid return on your time investment for passing any sort of ruck-based, land navigation-based selection program, so specifically SFAS. Orienteering is just navigating through the woods with map and compass, and this is sort of the civilian side of land navigation. It's a big area of focus, especially in any selection course that's heavy on individual land navigation, so your SFAS, or if you're going to try out down the road for like a Tier 1 unit, most of those have at least some component, if not the entirety of its selection course is ruck-based individual land navigation. I would have benefited greatly from diving into orienteering during college, as I didn't have any real experience navigating through the woods with a map and compass. I'd never really read a map before aside from a road map. Urban areas always were and still are my strong suit, so even now it takes me a little extra effort when I'm going out into the mountains, picking routes. I have to pay attention and not forget the basics. And that's what I think you should focus on if you're going to get into orienteering, is taking your time, especially up front, to learn the basics. So that's basic map reading, and that could be on anything from a 1/10,000 map, 1/24,000, 1/50, 1/100. Typically in orienteering competitions, you're going to see more like the 1/5,000, 1/10,000. But in the military, you're going to see all types. In Afghanistan, we only had old 1/100,000 Russian maps, and we use that for our navigation, mission planning, and route selection. So take your time, learn the basics, learn map reading, learn compass work, figure out how to pick an intelligent route. So route selection is going to be huge, especially during selection. Terrain association is huge. So being able to navigate based on the terrain in front of you, what you see or feel through your feet, versus head down to the map and doing a dead reckoning with your compass where you're just following an azimuth. It's incredibly important. It'll give you faster times. It'll make your routes hopefully easier. And it really comes into play in non-mountainous terrain where the changes in terrain might be subtle compared to what you see on the map or what you think you should be seeing or feeling as you move through the woods. You want to learn how to establish good handrails, solid backstops so you don't overshoot your points, as well as finding good attack points from which you can then find your specific point or control, as they call them in the orienteering world. Another big skill will be map reading on the move. So instead of stopping to check your map to make sure you're in the right place and going the right direction, orienteering is going to help you develop the ability to make those map reads and quick adjustments on the move so you're not losing valuable time. These are invaluable skills to have. You'll also want to learn how to understand the relationship between distance and time, depending on the terrain that you're in. So how long does it take you to move from point A to point B in a given terrain set? One thing I would caution you against if you're going to get into orienteering is do not incorporate rucking with orienteering, especially in the early phases and especially at the civilian competitions. Focus on learning the skill of navigation, and you can train your rucking separately. I would also caution you, just get ready to be humbled. I got beaten just badly the first time I went to an orienteering competition. This was in North Carolina, I think outside of Raleigh. I got beaten by old men and teenage girls, and I was already a Green Beret. So it was humbling, but it also showed me how much I had to learn and how much I could benefit from attending and kind of studying the sport of orienteering. It was a great wake-up call for me. So how do you get into it? Well, if you were in college, like we've talked about, this kind of being geared towards folks wanting to attend college, most colleges have orienteering clubs, and it's a great way to get started. It's a low cost of entry. You need, generally speaking, you need a finger compass, an electronic punch to record when you arrive at a control, and it gives you your splits between points, and then whatever the entry fee might be for the competitions. I know you can usually rent, if you're new to the sport, you can rent a finger compass and an electronic punch. It's $5-10 for those. And then the entry fees, this is 15 years ago, but I think my entry fees were around $10 to $25, depending on where I was at. Another alternative is some areas have permanent orienteering courses, and this is great for when there are no competitions. They're also good if you want to try your orienteering with a ruck after your skills are established. Again, I would still rely on an orienteering club and weekend orienteering competitions to get you started. I would discourage going for a permanent orienteering course that you're going to do solo, potentially with a ruck on your back, until you're confident that you can navigate comfortably through the woods and get yourself from point A to point B safely. Orienteering is also an easy way to get your cardio in once your skills are solid. So a lot of orienteering is almost a combination of land navigation with cross-country running. I think the sport of orienteering as you get to the higher levels is a little bit more like that. So this could be something that on the weekend, let's say you have a medium to long day of aerobic conditioning, you have your baseline orienteering skills put together, so you can do a competition and choose to run between points. And that's a great way to sneak in a little extra running in a way that's also building skills. So you want to be able to move fast, think on the move, get from point A to point B, and running especially, it's kind of a nice stepping stone before you might put a ruck into your back. I've put some links below. The first one is to orienteeringusa.org. That's sort of the parent organization of orienteering competitions in the US. They have some informational videos on there that might be helpful, as well as they can help direct you towards a club in your area. I also included a link to the University of Michigan Orienteering Club. I did grad school at Michigan and I knew there was an orienteering club there. I didn't participate, but it gives you an idea of maybe what a college orienteering environment will look like. And so it's just an example for you to breeze through and see what you might be getting yourself into. I also have some books that I would recommend. The first one is Orienteering Skills and Strategies. It's an old book, but I think it's a really good introduction to what orienteering is and some of the bigger concepts, everything from, route selection to setting boundaries, backstops, attack points, etc. The book seems to be reasonably priced now. For a long time it was out of print. I think the last time I purchased it, I paid around $400, which for me it was worth it at the time. But I think now it's about 20 bucks. I hope that's still the case because it's a great resource, one that comes highly recommended from a lot of folks. A second book is Finding Your Way Without Map or Compass. This has more to do with understanding how to read forests, trees, the sun, getting from A to B in case you don't have a map or compass. And it's just, I think, good basic knowledge that you can layer on top of the foundation of good orienteering skills. God forbid you lose your compass or your map, might be handy to fall back on. A third book that isn't necessarily orienteering specific is called Fixing Your Feet. And it just gives you some concepts you can use as you're training, and then once you're going through, initial phases of your military training and selection on how to take care of your feet when you're doing long movements under load. It's great. I still use some of the tips and tricks from this even today with hunting. Not everything in there may apply for you or maybe the best approach for your feet, but boot fit, sock selection, and understanding how to care and manage injuries for your feet. It's a very important skill to have. The sooner you learn it, the better off you'll be. And on that same note with your feet, I would also recommend getting regular pedicures. This could be like once every month or two. I slept on this for years and wish I would have done it sooner. You're going to build up and toughen your feet. You might establish some calluses, and that's not necessarily bad. You don't want super silky skin. But there are ways that a pedicure can help manage some of those calluses so you're not causing like separation between the callus itself and your skin or your foot tissue. So shaving down the calluses, getting the dead skin off. You're still going to maintain that hardened foot, but this can prevent some nasty injuries that you see or that I have seen in selection programs before. You don't have to paint your toenails, but again, once every couple months, it's just nice to pamper yourself too. So plan and train accordingly, and good luck.